Abuse, rape, or trauma are things that happen to people who are victims at that very moment. Child or adult, there's nothing you could have done to prevent the atrocity. But when it's over, the healing must begin.
It gets harder every day.
You have inner beauty, you have inner worth and value. Framing your past as your past and leaving it there will help you to frame your future and lead you to the place where you belong, with a woman's soul restored. Here's Latonia Hendry.
Hello, and welcome to A Woman's Soul Restored. This week we will be talking about how to get back to your authentic self. And I'm not necessarily talking about things that happen to us in our childhood that has taken a while for us to structure our lives to become productive adults. But I'm talking about if you were already a productive adult and living your life and doing things to live your best life. And then something comes along like an abduction or a rape or domestic violence in the home, or you finding out that a child in your home has been sexually abused. That can take you to a very traumatic place. How do you come back from that? How can you restore your authenticity? How can you become that person that you were before an incident occurred? Many things can happen in our lives that would throw us into a tailspin, have us like grasping our hair, wanting us to feel like we don't belong, like our lives cannot get back on track after a traumatic event. It is difficult, believe me. It is very hard to get back to a structure or get back to a place of feeling safe or even being sane, having your sanity restored. But it is possible. One of the things that we can do, honestly, is through healing, because you cannot try to move forward if you have not been healed. So one thing that we can do in the process of us healing is, if it didn't affect us directly, if it affected a child in our home, as we help that child and see them getting to a place of healing, that would help us get to our place of healing. But if it's something that happened to us, if we were coming out of work or going to your car from the grocery store and something happened to us, or someone broke in your home and violated you, that could be a process of really allowing yourself the time to get back to a place of being okay. Everybody's okay is different, but there is a time when we can get to a place of okay. But just because I'm okay doesn't mean that your okay and my okay have to match up, because everyone's different. And in our differences, we can embrace one another, but there's no competition in when we're healed. There's no competition in when we will be okay. There's just no competition. So we have to work on ourselves as individuals. We have to do things that will help us get back to a place of being authentic, a place of loving ourselves and knowing that whatever happened, it was not our fault. Learning to love yourself again is key, because when you go through a traumatic event as an adult, the first thing you can do or may do is to blame yourself, to find ways to see what could you have done different. Could you have acted differently? Could you just had let whatever happened to you, and why you didn't do anything to stop it? First of all, when we're in the moment of something happening, your mind is not going to work as your mind usually does. And that's important to understand. We're not going to think quickly. And I'm not saying 100% of the time, because nothing's 100%. It is some women that could just on the top of a whim, they know what to do. But for the majority of us, and I say us because this goes for me too, I don't automatically respond like how I should respond in the midst of an event or something going on. So don't blame yourself by not responding. Like, you may have went through training to prepare for something, and when it kicked in, you couldn't think of what to do. That's normal. Our mind goes into like a collapse when we're in the midst of a situation or situations. So you're not going to think as quickly on your feet as you would. Your brain is not going to automatically jump into, I learned this, because you're in survival mode, and your survival may be just to lay there, let it happen so that you could walk away from this and live. Will you have thoughts about that later? Yeah, you will. But in that moment, you're just trying to get past that event so that you can live another day. So that an hour later, you'll be okay. An hour later, you'll still be alive. So you're not thinking about hurting them or defending yourself. You're thinking about self-preservation, and your self-preservation may be just to just lay there. Just lay there and let it happen, and it's going to be over with. And then I can call the police, or I can go to the authorities or the proper channels to get my story out and to get help. But in this moment, I just need to let this happen so that I can live. Because you don't know what somebody's going to do to you if you fight back, if you resist. Yes, studies say if you fight back, they may run. But what instance, we don't know from case to case if they're going to run or not. Some people are just that psychotic to enjoy the fight. So you have to be careful about wanting to fight back or wanting to make a statement, because that may be your last statement. So you have to take your life into accountability and not feel guilty about the decisions you've made. And not only you not feel guilty, but let nobody make you feel guilty for the decision you made just to lay there or just to let it happen so that you can live. Because being here and having a feeling about anything is better than somebody finding you dead and they saying your final words at your funeral. So take that into account if you're beating yourself up and feeling guilty about not having the proper response and people telling you you should have did so and so. Well, they were not in that situation with you, so it's easy to say what somebody should have done. But until they actually do it, and until they're actually in that same situation that you're in, you don't know what somebody's going through. You even don't know what the intentions of that other person is. You don't know if that intention was to hurt them, to rape them, to kill them. You just don't know. So you can't say you should have did so and so. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, in that situation, you don't know what you would have done before you give advice about somebody making a stance and you would have protected yourself. Well, if you would have, that's good for you. And good luck with that. But everybody's different, and we can't make people feel guilty, withdraw into a deeper shell, into a deeper place of shame by making them feel like they didn't do the right thing in a situation of rape, or if they stayed in a situation too long with domestic violence. I would have been out of there. I wouldn't have stayed there and took that. You don't know what you would have taken if you were in that situation. You don't know what your reaction would have been if children's involved. If you have whatever's going on, you don't know how you would have reacted to that. So let's not give people advice that's contraactive or makes them feel, it puts them in a vulnerable place more than they already are. We can be loving with our friends and loved ones, our family members that have gone through something, but we cannot make them feel like, we can't victimize them more than they already are, because we're trying to get them to a place of victory. So bringing up what they could have done or what you would have done or all that other stuff is really contraactive to being productive. So if you're in that situation where it happened to you, please get help. Don't try to work it out on your own, because your thoughts will beat you up. Your thoughts will have you thinking everything in the world you could have done that you didn't do. And then you're going to fall into a place of not wanting to get up, to not wanting to talk to anybody, to cutting life off and just waiting possibly to die, or waiting possibly for that eternal sleep that you don't need to be in. You have to find your way back to your authentic self. You have to rediscover the person that you were before that incident happened. You have to realize that things happen, and even the Bible says trials and tribulations may come, and that weapons may form against us, but they will not prosper. So in the midst of us going through whatever we're going through, just know that that's not who you are. That's just an event that you went through. That don't determine what your destiny is or what your end result is unless you let it. You have a decision to make. You can either wither and fall down and give in, or you could fight to save your own life. You could make a decision that this is not going to be me. I'm not going to be that person that just folds up and throws in the towel. I'm not going to do this. So what do you do after you make that decision? What do you do after you decide that I'm not going to be this person that just makes them the victor and I'm the victim? Take your life back, claim your life back, find resources in your community, find family and loved ones that will support you and help you regain what you have lost in the midst of going through a very traumatic situation. But what we cannot do is allow our thoughts, allow the memory of what happened, allow even other people, especially the person that violated us. Because the more you sink, the more they win. Whatever their purpose was towards you, you're still alive. And that's the key thing. You are still alive to make a difference. You are still here. You have a second chance. Make that difference count. Make your life count. Make a decision not to be a victim, but to reclaim your life, to get your life back, to do the things you were doing before this happened to you, to do the things that before you got married and fell into, or even in a relationship with somebody and got into a domestic violence situation that tried to break you. You got out of it. And now it's time to find you. Now, and if you have children, it's time to rebuild a life for you and your children. But if you're single, it's time for you to discover you. It's time for you to gain that life that you want. And in some instances, and this is what I did when I went through my domestic violence situation in my first marriage, I had lost who I was. And when I got out of it, it took me a while to come back to me. But what I did was, I didn't come back to the original me. The things that I had told my ex-husband that I wanted to do, I wanted to write a book, I wanted to travel, things I disclosed to him that I wanted to do in my life that he told me I couldn't do because I wasn't worthy of it. Those are the things I stepped out and did. I did travel. I did start another home-based business because I had a home-based business when we were together, and he literally destroyed it by what he did to me. I had lost all my self-confidence to do anything. So I got back into that. I got back into the things I normally did with my children, but I also discovered that life is short. And those things that we have in our minds that we want to do, but put them on the back burner, this is the time to do it now, when you just might not feel that you got to care that, well, okay, I'm going to do this and it doesn't matter how it turns out. This is the time to take the opportunity to do that. The time to realize that, well, if I'm going to go for it, I might as well go for it now, because what do I have to lose? You really might not have anything to lose, but you have the world at your fingertips to gain. Start those things that you want to do. Start those businesses that you wanted to start. Do that book that you want to write. Get that job that you got a degree to get, but you were always afraid to step out. Do those things that before you might have been afraid to do. But even if it takes a little longer to get to that place, you have to get back to what you were doing, the things you were doing before, the things that made you feel joyous and happy, spending time with your loved ones, going out, eating lunch with a girlfriend, doing things that uplifted you. Going through a traumatic event could put you in a place of withdrawal where you don't want to be around anybody. But take baby steps to get back in the game. Take those steps, those very essential, necessary steps to find your authenticity, to reclaim your life. And once you've reclaimed it, get back further in the game and do those things that were in your mind before, but for whatever reason you didn't do it. For whatever reason you was hesitant or pulled back, or you came up with 1,000 reasons why you couldn't do it. Now is the time to step out, step forth, and just say, you know what, I'm just going to do this. I've went through this event. It did whatever it did to my life, but it didn't destroy me. It didn't kill me. It didn't take me out. Because I'm the first one to tell you that because of domestic violence, I lost my mother at 3 years old. She didn't get to see her daughters grow up. She didn't get to see us have our children. She was taken away by my father. So you've got a second chance, just like I had a second chance to live my life, to try not make the same mistakes again, to just discover who we are as women, or even men that go through domestic violence, or men that have been battered. This is the opportunity to reclaim you. This is the time now to make your stand for who you are. So don't just fall victim to the thing that happened to you. Don't let that define you. Don't let that make you reclusive, staying in, shutting everybody out. Maybe the people that even can help you, shutting them out because of fear. It may, whatever time that you need, take that time that you need to cry and to get that out. But don't stay in that place of being fallen, because even the fallen have to get up, and you have to get up with strength, and you have to get up stronger than when you went down. You have to know that you are not in this fight alone. There are women like myself and many, many others that can help you get to a place of wholeness, of fullness, of being who you are as an individual, of healing, and then helping somebody else to heal, because that's the overall goal. No, nobody wants to go through any kind of sexual situation that's forceful. But in the midst of, or after that moment in your healing, or after your healing, it's time to help somebody else. It's time to pay it forward. It's time to realize that if I'm quiet, if I keep this situation to myself, the person that abused me wins, or the person that victimized me sexually wins. And we never want to give them a point. They already got a point in what they did to us. We don't need to give them any more. We need to take back, and take back with authority, our rights, our abilities, our love, our compassion, our drive to want to learn and do everything that we can. We have to take that back. But it's up to us. It's up to us to say, I love me, and I am going to make this change now. I am going to do this now. And just do it. Just do it. Just reach out to someone for help. And if they love you, they're not going to re-victimize you by making you feel bad, but they're going to help you in any way that you need help. If you need to email me, you can email me at awomanssoulrestored@gmail.com. The website is www.livelifenowlovelifenow.net. You can find me on Facebook at A Woman's Soul Restored, or my personal page, Latonia Wiggins Hendry. So I hope this week you are enlightened by what was discussed. I hope that if you're in that place of feeling lost and not knowing what to do, please reach out to someone. Pull yourself out of that miry clay and reclaim your life. If you're someone that knows someone, extend a hand, because they might not know where to begin. They might not know where to start. But if you have those abilities to help somebody to reclaim and get their authenticity back, extend the olive branch and do that. So for this week, this is Latonia Wiggins Hendry with A Woman's Soul Restored. And until next month, be blessed.